Hello guys, and welcome to another edition of Spring to Sociology. Today we'll be doing another important concept of Emile Durkheim, which is in our syllabus, which is the division of labor in society. By the end, we'll understand how Durkheim looks to maintain unity in so much diversity which happens in modern societies. So let's begin with the first concept of Durkheim, which is social solidarity. We have heard a lot about solidarity in our previous lectures when we talked about collective consciousness, right? And how religion and collective consciousness are there to increase social solidarity in society, right? So, Durkheim uses the term social solidarity to indicate the level of integration in society, right? So this kind of questions we see frequently discussed in the media, especially in regard to sedition laws, right? So do actions such as dissent or violent dissent indicate threats to integration in society? So this kind of questions Durkheim seeks to answer. So integration is making diversity to come together to form a more complete, balanced whole. Right? Think about the general will where people give up the individual will so that something which is acceptable to everyone and helps everyone, right? So to think about social solidarity, think about social groups in which you might be into because of your identity, like gender, region, religion, caste, class, right? So uh, for Durkheim, when we talk about social solidarity, we'll specifically mention and refer to three things. First, the subjective sense of group membership that individuals have. This means, do individuals feel part of the collective in which they live in? Example, in Nazi Germany, people such as Jews, Gypsies, the LGBT community, and other minority groups did not feel part of the German nationalist collective because they were persecuted. The second important point with regard to social solidarity is the constraint of individual behaviors for the group good, right? That means to what degree are individual desires constrained? Example, if you were born in ancient Indian society, a person from the Dalit caste could not have become a priest even if he desired because of the nature of the caste system, right? And the third important point with respect to social solidarity is whether the organization of social units and groups come together to form a single system. That means how are the activities of the different subsystems coordinated with and adjusted to one another. Example, you can think of how societies react to change, like how Indian society changed due to external influence of westernization during the colonial period, right? Or how the caste system changed due to internal uh, movements for change, such as the socio religious reform movements. Durkheim also argues that social solidarity in traditional societies was different than the social solidarity we have today in modern societies. As each of these three factors varies, a society will also experience different levels of social solidarity. So Durkheim is not only interested in the degree of social solidarity, but he also wants to know the way social solidarity comes about. To understand this issue of how social solidarity is formed and how it changes, he uses two analogies to talk about these issues. The first is the mechanistic analogy, right? Think about machines or motors. how the different parts in a motor are related to each other. In a machine, the relationship is purely physical and involuntary, right? That means machines are relatively simple. Most parts are very similar and they are related to each other and communicate with each other mechanically, right? So if we think about the degree of solidarity in such a unit, then it's extremely high. There is also a sense of absolute relationship to the whole. That means this a gear does only this function and contributes to the movement of the whole thing, right? Each piece is connected to every other piece. Each individual unit's action is constrained absolutely and coordinated to the whole mechanism. There is another analogy, which is the organismic one. That means organic uh, beings. These are quite complex systems when compared to machines. The parts are very different from one another and they fulfill very specific and distinct functions and are related to a variety of different subsystems. Right? Think about the human body. We have talked about this kind of examples when we talked about the sociological perspective of functionalism in our previous videos. So organismic structures provide information to one another using different means such as nutrients, chemicals, or even electrical impulses via the nerves, and so on. These structures make adjustments based on the information they receive, right? So in addition, most organic systems are open systems. That means they respond to the information from the environment, right? And they change their behavior according to the information from the environment. Like if you eat too much food, you will become fat. The human body as a system is reacting to the inputs from the external environment, whereas most machines are closed systems, right? So if a machine is properly insulated, then put it in a very cold temperature or a very hot temperature, it will work the same. Hence, the solidarity of an organism as compared to a machine is very complex and somewhat problematic. So, mechanical and organic solidarities are part of Durkheim's typology of society. We talked about typology in our previous videos, how science uses typologies to explain the social world. Durkheim uses this uh, typology of society to understand change and the social world. So, one way to understand the difference between mechanical and organic solidarity in traditional and modern societies is to place yourself in the position of a woman, right? In one in traditional society and one in modern society. So, let's now see the differences between the two types of solidarity. In mechanical solidarity, the individual is connected to society without any intermediary, right? So what this means is that society is organized collectively and all members of the group share the same set of tasks and core beliefs. That means a traditional woman believes as her society believes that her place is at in the household, right? To make food and bring up the children, right? So this is the collective consciousness present in mechanical solidarity. Whereas in modern societies with organic solidarity, the society is more complex. There are systems with different functions, right? Each individual has a distinct job and personality, right? And individual grows as the society becomes more complex. Thus, society is more and more efficient as each of its parts has more movements that are distinctly individual, right? The woman in modern society can perform whatever job she wants, right? And she is connected to society in lot more other ways, right? In a lot of other ways she can contribute rather than in only one way as defined by society in mechanical solidarity. So the these are the differences in the beliefs and sentiments between mechanical and organic solidarity. And also, in mechanical solidarity, collective ideas and behaviors are stronger than the individual. We can see that in the social practice of sati, where a woman in some caste groups in traditional society was forced to commit suicide due to the group pressure, right? Whereas in organic solidarity, individual ideas and tendencies are strong, right? So a person is free to do whatever profession he wants as long as it is within the law. So this means that in mechanical solidarity, so social horizons are limited. That means the choices you have, they are very limited. A woman in traditional society has very limited choices. She cannot go out of the household. She cannot do a lot of professions, right? Whereas a woman in organic solidarity has a broad or even unlimited social horizon, right? She can pursue whatever she wants to do. So, uh, one of the results of this limitation in mechanical solidarity is that tradition appears very concrete and defined, right? The roles and responsibilities of every person is defined based on what gender he or she is, based on the caste of the person, or the age of the person. So, hence, they look very concrete and defined. People in these kind of societies don't doubt their knowledge or reality, right? They hold on to the traditions of their ancestors, and the relationships are expressed in very familiar terms, right? The status of a newly wed woman is at the bottom in the family structure in traditional societies. The roles and responsibilities are expected there. But now let's come to another important difference which Durkheim used to show the shift from mechanical to organic solidarities. He saw this difference in law, how law comes about. In mechanical solidarities, the law is punitive law or repressive law. That means that the function of the law is not to correct the individual, rather, it is to make him atone for his actions. That is, the purpose of the law is to give satisfaction to the collective, to all the people, to make him an example so that other people do not deviate from their roles and responsibilities. This is because this law is exercised when the act offends the strongly and well defined states of collective consciousness in traditional societies. This is even linked to morality. That means the punishment which is given under repressive law is generally greater than the danger represented to society. Example, cutting off of individual hands for committing for stealing something. Hence, this punitive law satisfies moral outrage and clarifies moral boundaries that this is not acceptable in society. So, repressive or punitive law also provides an opportunity for ritual performance, like the religious rituals we saw earlier in Durkheim, which help in increasing social solidarity and collective consciousness, right? So, one of the good examples of repressive law is Kha Panchayats, right? So, are they represent the traditional mode of law in which there is a sense of moral outrage over the crime, and the punishment is much more than what is deserved. Like you must have heard extremely disgusting stories, like the Khap Panchayat ordering the rape of a person as as a punishment, right? So and or public flogging, right? And the whole of the village participates in seeing that punishment, right? So this is a sort of a ritual performance which generates the kind of emotional effervescence Durkheim was talking about. Whereas in modern societies with organic solidarity, there is restitutive law. That means the purpose of the law is to restore the offender and what damages uh, to the society that have been done. This law usually works via more specialized bodies in society, such as the courts and lawyers. Right? Here, there is no sense of moral outrage, and there is no such ritualization of the boundaries. And these kind of laws in modern society tend to be more rational rather than moral or familiar. An important point to note is that the restitutive or repressive laws are material, right? That means we can see them, and through them, we can see non material things like solidarity. So, this is in a way we can see the application of social facts here. Collective consciousness is a non material social fact which cannot be seen in the material world, whereas law is a material social fact which can be seen and felt. Via a material social fact, Durkheim is asking us to see the change in a non material social fact, which again comes to one of the properties of social facts, that it is antecedent in nature. From one social fact, we study the another. From material social facts, we study non material social facts. So this brings us to the end of the video and the first part of Durkheim's theory on division of labor. The next video we will be seeing what is division of labor and how does it increase in society and how is it related to Durkheim's concept of mechanical and organic solidarity, right? And we're going to see how Durkheim explains social change through his concepts. Please like and subscribe. Thank you and join the Telegram group.